Hey, this is Chuck, and you are listening to Fans with Bands, the podcast where we talk to the fans and the bands they dig about life, music, and whatever the hell else we want to talk about. Today on Fans with Bands, we are talking to Matt, the vocalist of Cryptopsy and the host of Vox&Hops. Check it out. Hey, this is Chuck with Fans with Bands, and I'm talking with Matt, the vocalist of Cryptopsy, as well as the man behind the awesome podcast with metal and beer, two of my favorite things, Vox&Hops. And I also have Jerry, who is a fan of both Vox&Hops and Cryptopsy. So how you guys doing?
Great.
Doing good.
Awesome. Thanks so much, you guys, for being on here. So I kind of want to start off with, I feel like, we should get to know each other a little bit better. Jerry, you are my idol as far as the curator of metal. I love your list. Jerry, was it Jerry with the J special on Spotify?
Yes.
I actually picked up on that in one of the Thirsty Thursdays that Matt hosts for Vox&Hops. I was curious, what is your origin story with extreme metal, and how did you get it? What was your first experience with Cryptopsy?
My first experience with Cryptopsy was actually I found None So Vile on YouTube a couple of years ago, and I was like, "What the hell is this?"
Awesome.
And it just kind of went from there. I was already kind of into extreme metal at that time. I had found Behemoth and Job for a Cowboy.
Yeah.
Probably about probably back in 2007, when MySpace was huge. That was kind of my gateway into extreme music, was MySpace.
Oh, cool. So kind of the old school avenue into metal.
Definitely.
Awesome. So Matt, I know that on your podcast you had this really great section of your interviews with people that were from your past that gave kind of the origin story behind you. And I was, I checked out 3 Mile Scream. Hopefully isn't derogatory, but I kind of thought of it as metalcore a little bit.
Oh, it was.
and which is fine. It's not necessarily my gig, but totally people love it. But I was wondering, how much of a stretch was that for you to jump into then Cryptopsy, which is just fucking, technical death metal?
It was massive. I was completely unprepared. I jumped out of an airplane with a broken parachute. I did my best, is really what the unspoken king is. I really, really did my best to deliver the most extreme vocals that I could. But I was 100% a metalcore vocalist. There was no deathcore in there. A lot of people like to throw that word around whenever the unspoken king is mentioned. But there was no, at least for me, of course I'm from Montreal. I knew, Despised Icon.
Right.
I had their CDs. I enjoyed them, but I was in no way a deathcore child. I was a new metal child who evolved into a metalcore child that ended up in Cryptopsy. But my old band, 3 Mile Scream, was 100% wanted to be a part of it was a mixture between the new wave of American heavy metal, which is, Lamb of God, Killswitch Engage, Shadows Fall, melding with the Swedish scene at the Gates. The Haunted was extremely influential on 3 Mile Scream, and awesome. I still like those records. And
The Haunted is fucking awesome. Yeah,
super underrated. Peter Dolving all the way. But no offense to the other dude, Mike. I think his name is Mike. But although The Haunted Made Me Do It's the one that I really got into.
Yeah.
And then Peter Dolving's madness is what really kept me there.
Yeah.
But that's really what it all stemmed from. And then I ended up in Cryptopsy because Donaldson produced 3 Mile Scream, and as he still does to this day, he shows off his mixes because he's proud of them and he's proud of the work that he's done. And Flo was in a transitionary period of his life and wanted something more, wanted to have some clean vocals. He loves, Faith No More, Radiohead. Yeah. And he wanted to evolve and make Cryptopsy even more avant-garde. Did we do it right? I don't think so, but everybody's got clean vocals in extreme metal now. So
yeah. I was going to say, something. Yeah, was that how was the rest of the band as accepting of the clean singing? Because there's the clean singing, I think, is a little different that you were doing in 3 Mile Scream than it is. It's kind of an accent to Cryptopsy, whereas it was a kind of a featured component with 3 Mile Scream.
100% yes. It was really just me trying to fit. I knew they wanted clean vocals, so I tried to fit it onto the record.
Yeah.
It obviously didn't fit the way it fit with 3 Mile, because 3 Mile, it was like a showcased. We wrote parts so I could sing, whereas with Cryptopsy, I just sort of had to fit them in. The songs were already complete. And no, the band was not all on board with it. It was a very fragmented band to join, because nobody was on board with what the vision of the album was going to be. They had written some songs, but nobody had a cohesive concept. Everybody had their own concept. Donaldson, the Christian Donaldson, who's still in the band now with me, the guitarist, still felt like he was new and he had no place in the band, and he was really a part of someone else's band, and he was a hired gun in his mind at that time. So as a producer, he was recording me, and all the clean vocals, he was like this, like with a disgusted smelling shit face saying, yeah, it's good, but he hated it. And he still hates that album to this day.
Really?
Yeah. Wow. I honestly don't listen to it very often, and when I do listen to it, there's certain tracks that I like Bound Dead is a track that I feel has aged well and is something that's interesting, and had we released The Unspoken King as a separate project, would have gone over much better. I'm drinking this, though. I have to talk about it. It's so good.
Yeah.
This is from Pub Pruski. They are the Smoothie Kings from here in Montreal. They are in the old port of Montreal in a beautiful, beautiful brand new tap room. I think it was 2 years ago, maybe a year ago. It's a smoothie sour, 5.2%. It has mango, peach, and passion fruit in it. It basically is a kettle sour brew. People will correct me if I'm wrong. Mixed with a whole bunch of fruit puree, and it's to die for. They really make.
When you were pouring that out, I was like, holy shit, is he drinking orange juice?
Never. I take my mimosas without orange juice. I never drink juice. Let's try that.
Oh, really? All right. Well, so since we're sharing beers, I'm going to share it's the Wild Away IPA from actually Stormcloud. They're in Michigan, and this is like a Belgian-inspired IPA. So
very cool.
Yeah. Gary, what do you get on your end?
I've got a local microbrew. I've shared them on the Thursday several times from Intrinsic Brewing right down the street from my house. I've got their Flanders Red. I guess it's going to be a 10 because it's got an X. So it's a Flemish sour. Saw they shared it a couple days on their Facebook, and I said, hey, man, I love a good Belgian. So went down there and grabbed that earlier tonight. I was hoping were going to have their new collaboration. It's a pho-based beer with another brewery that popped up here in Dallas, but they're actually releasing that tomorrow. So I'll be back there tomorrow to grab some of that.
Cool. What is it? What is a pho? See, I don't know
that. Pho, like the Vietnamese soup.
Oh, shit.
So it's got like Thai chilies and basil in there. I think I had that on one of the Thirsty Thursdays earlier this year from the other brewery had released their version. They're called Vector Brewing. They're a new brewery in Dallas, and Intrinsic was in on the collab with that, and now Intrinsic is brewing their version with Vector, but here in Garland at Intrinsic.
Very cool.
Wow,
very cool. We're talking a lot about Thirsty Thursdays, and we haven't introduced it properly.
That's true. So, Jerry? Why don't you introduce what Thursday is?
Thirsty Thursday is something Matt started at the beginning of the pandemic, where every Thursday at 8 p.m. Eastern, we all a group of us get together and we just talk about what's going on in our lives. We try to keep it super positive. Don't talk about politics or COVID or anything, and just talk about metal. Usually have a question of the week. Other people throw out questions. What's your favorite album of the year? What's your least favorite album of the year? What's your favorite band? What's your least favorite band? Just a place to kind of get together, kind of like you're sitting at the bar.
Yeah.
Just talking.
Yeah, I quickly discovered not to talk about COVID when I started these things. Me and Jessica, we finished, I think it was the second week, and we're like, we can't talk about COVID anymore. It's too depressing. Yeah. This has to be like a positive thing that just, and I started it on a whim. I had no idea that it would work. It was really just, I wanted to hang out with some people, and I invited, the Vox and Hops alumni, which are the previous guests that I'd had on the podcast. which, as a touring artist, you make friends all across the globe and you hang out like intensely for 3 weeks. It's like those friends that you make at summer camp. As a child, you're best friends for life. It's just you go through these experiences and they seem so important at the time.
Right.
When in all reality, it's sort of just nonsense. But so I invited all these people that I missed, and I opened it up to the Vox and Hops heads, the listeners to the podcast. And Jerry's honestly been at every single Thirsty Thursday, and I did it consecutively for 5 months, 6 months.
Yeah.
I'm not even sure until just recently I started just doing it once a month. Because I felt like with everyone, the world sort of opening up, everyone had a bit more time on their hands, and I didn't want to, make them feel obligated to come hang out with me every Thursday. Which I loved. It was fun.
Yeah, I was happy to make a couple of them. I didn't make them all, but I got to a couple of them, and that was really cool. It's a great experience. I mean, what I liked about it, especially is that aspect of, like Jerry, what you're saying, just sitting around and talking about music, because that's something that sometimes, and I don't know if you guys feel the same way, but I'm not necessarily an outgoing person. I'm a bit of an introvert, and I've seen that a lot with a bunch of metal people I've met. We're kind of introverted. We're maybe on the edge of nerdy as far as like talking about music. Some people are just like super, and like they can tell you every goddamn album that came out, when it came out. And I'm not at that level. But you can also talk the way about beer too. You can get into every little thing about them hops and this and that. And I don't know where the hell I was going with that, but basically, there's that feeling of like being able to share some of those conversations. And I think that was what appealed to me about the Thursday is just kind of a casual conversation, music, beer, and just get to hang out.
Absolutely. And we're all introverts. I feel like the whole group, we're all, those probably weird kids in high school that listened to that strange music that didn't fit in with the crowd.
Right.
Personally, I started enjoying alcohol and beers much later than the rest of my peers.
Yeah.
And it's a beautiful, beautiful community. And the more that I see it grow, and I'm watching things happening such as totally legal beer trades and and people hanging out and visiting each other in different cities. And I know that when I go on tour again, when the apocalypse is over and Cryptopsy is allowed to come through, the States and Ukraine and Mexico and we've had people from the UK. I know that all these people are going to come out and hang out with me. We're going to go grab a beer and then do a live in-person Thirsty Thursday. It's going to be amazing. And honestly, I've been hanging out with these people more than I hang out with my friends. So it's crazy. It's crazy. Yeah. When you told me Jerry was going to come on, I was like, awesome. I'm like extremely at ease.
Yeah. Well, I thought of Jerry just because the couple of times I was on the Thursday group, that's where I got introduced again. Jerry, thanks for that Spotify list, because it's so awesome. And I was just like, I need to meet this guy and spend a little time with him, because it was just, I was just blown away by all the music you had on there. And
Jerry's the best.
Yeah.
Go for it.
Yeah. Well, I was just going to say, Jerry, so sometimes I feel like, there's, I'm obviously an older dude. Back in the day, we didn't have like a fire hose of music coming at you. Now there is a fire hose. It's like a ton of stuff.
Yeah, so definitely.
You're kind of curating this really interesting list with a good mix of like extreme music. Do you find that your filters have to be a little bit more nuanced, or are you just like, let me just swim in this stream of all this music and I'm going to grab whatever I can, comes close by?
Yeah. Some of the websites I use to find music, they have like a Bandcamp thing in there where I can listen to the song without leaving the website, or like a YouTube link or something. And I'll listen to it. If it's something that grabs my attention, like, okay, yeah, I have a list in my phone where like every week by date, like, okay, this is what's coming out this week.
Yeah.
And I'll just put it in there, and I may listen to it, and a couple songs, and no, it's not for me, and I'll just dump it in the bin. But something that really within the first few songs really grabs me, I'll throw it in that playlist because I know there's been a few people like Dave. I threw in a band called Yatra. It's a doom band.
Yeah.
And they've released 3 albums since last year. They've released 2 albums this year, 1 last week. And Dave was like, "Man, this band is like everything I've ever wanted. Thank you." And I was like, "Well, they're putting out another album in October, so get ready." So yeah, I have my preferences, but then sometimes I'll kind of branch out on something that I maybe tried in the past and didn't like and came back. Okay, yeah, that clicks with me now, and so I'll throw that in there as well.
Cool.
He's the best. I tell you, he sends me, the reason why there is a Jerry with a J playlist is because he sends me music all the time. Multiple bands a week, and I've discovered quite a few that have immediately become, gems. Like Hail Hath. Like Hath, and I keep seeing this band grow and grow and grow, and I hope that it's coming from Jerry.
Yeah, and a couple of guys from the Thirsty Thursday, Evan and Philippe, they have their own podcast, and they had Frank and Peter from Hath on, and they were talking about how people have messaged them saying, "I sent them," and I'm like, the group I was in that where I discovered Hath, a lot of people knew about it. I mean, it's about 5,000 people, so stuff gets lost in the mix. But I have seen on like Hath music videos or the Galactic Criminal reaction to Usurpation, like people say, "Oh, I found this music," and I recognize the people, so I know it's someone I told, and it's pretty fulfilling to see that I can help get a band a little bit more recognition.
Yeah.
And they talked about that even with the Bandcamp Friday, their sales have jumped through the roof with the Hive EP release.
That's awesome.
But they're amazing. And so I just hit up Jerry and I was like, "Can you just make like a playlist for the Thirsty Thursday gang where you put all this music?" Because my life has changed since COVID. I'm home more, and I'm not taking public transport anymore. So I used to listen to a lot of music on public transport. That's really how I would get my music into me. Yeah. But now I'm biking, and in Montreal you can't listen to music and bike. It's dangerous. So during the pandemic it was easy because I was at home, I was working from home, and I could just put stuff on in the background, which is how I discovered Meth Witch. That just terrified my wife. And my wife can listen to anything, and she's never complained before. But Meth Witch was one that
it was too much.
And I wrote him right away. I was like, I have to, and that's exactly the pitch that I gave him. I was like, "My wife listens to everything, but you were too much. I must speak to you." And he was amazing. Super great episode. But it was Jerry has an ear, and it's something that I would like to cater more to the masses, and I really think he should be an A&R. So I've told him this a few times.
Yeah, I was going to say,
I would love to get Jerry an A&R job. So I was going to pitch it to someone, but sadly he's not a part of a label anymore. But I'll find some. I'm going to make it happen somehow. At least get the conversation going, because I feel like he has a perfect ear.
Yeah. I was going to say, like, Jerry, do you do reviews and that kind of stuff, interviews and
No,
such?
I just
just love metal.
Yeah, I just I'm pretty lucky with the job I work in. I work in a lab, and my job, I'm pretty much isolated from everybody else, so I can spend 8 hours a day listening to music, and so that's why I found so much stuff, because literally I am sitting at a computer running a machine, and that's all I can really do. I can't really walk away and do much, so that's what I do. Is I just 8 hours a day listen to music, and if I'm working on a weekend, I'm there about 4 or 5 hours, and I'm just listening to music, and it helps me get in a flow throughout the day. And if I have any downtime at home, or if I'm driving somewhere, like good 20-30 minutes. I live in Dallas, so everything's kind of spread out. So I'll find something on Spotify I've been wanting to listen to, or Bandcamp, and just listen to it.
Cool.
And that's how I discover a lot of stuff.
That's awesome. So I don't want to dominate the questioning. the interrogation. So Jerry, do you have any questions you want to ask Matt?
No. No,
he's asked them all.
Answered
I already asked them all.
Man, it's like we've known each other, talked for 7 months. I mean, we've been Facebook friends longer than that.
At least over a year communicating.
Yeah, about a year communicating, because I found the podcast back in like January of 2019, so it was pretty young.
Okay, cool.
And I was taking a class for work to get some certifications. It was like microbiology, so it was a lot of studying. So I just Googled metal podcast, and it was one of the top ones that came up. And I was like, well, I like beer, I like metal, I like Cryptopsy. All right, let's check this out. And while I was studying or taking quizzes or doing lab reports or whatever, I just was listening, and then I found the Facebook page, and that's when he asked for music recommendations. I said, well, this just came out as the half. I said, I've been like, this was a instant buy. You should check this out. And then the next week he was like, I don't remember who sent this to me, but holy shit, this is amazing.
I think it was the first album of the week when I started doing albums.
Yeah, I think so. Because I think once I found the podcast and started listening to it, like, okay, it's something I'll enjoy. I found found the Facebook page, and I just started following that. And I was going to try to go out to their show with Benighted and Aborted, the Hideous Divinity, but I had class that day. I didn't know if I could make it out. So, that's how me and Matt talked for over a year.
Yeah. So that's a really cool dynamic, because I think a lot of, and this could be me projecting, but a lot of fans have trouble, kind of making that connection with somebody that they think is, you're in this band, so you've got to be some fucking awesome guy that is beyond me. But then when you actually get to talking with them, you find out like just regular dude, but he's just fucking awesome singer, he's in this band. So, what does that mean to you when you have this kind of connection with somebody that you admire as an artist, but then you also get to know them as a friend? Like, does that change the way you see them as an artist, or does it just enhance what you think of them?
I think a little bit of both. Like, I could see that he's just a normal guy, just like me, but it also is like, hey, this guy that's in this band that like millions of people around the globe, maybe even billions of people know.
Right.
So I even had some of my personal friends like see that he's commented on something, like some stupid picture I meme or something I share on Facebook, and he comments on it. They're like, they message me like, Matt from Cryptopsy? I'm like, oh yeah, me and him talk all the time. They're like, Matt from Cryptopsy? I'm like, yes, I know Matt from Cryptopsy. Or even the guys from Hath. Oh, Hath? I'm like, I kind of talked about him for like the past year. I know the Hath guys. So it's a little bit of a mix of both. But I mean, like, there are definitely some artists that if I ever meet, I will have a legitimate freak out moment.
Right. And I'm kind of wondering, like, because it's making me think of a couple of things. We're in this world where you've got lots of great art. You've got people that are like Matt, who are, well-known musicians as well as podcasters. You get to have this relationship with them. And then there's this other level of like, and I kind of think of it as like older school, like, like the dudes like Gene Simmons, not that I'm a huge Gene Simmons fan, but they're up here and they don't really interact as much with their fans as somebody like Matt. And I'm curious, does that change the way your dynamic when you think about like a band like Cryptopsy and you're thinking like, oh yeah, this is really fucking awesome, versus that band that's in this stratosphere that you were like, oh, I'm never going to be able to talk to somebody like that?
Probably a little bit. Just shows that they're a little bit more down to earth.
Yeah.
To me, I mean, I've met some famous athletes and stuff, and they kind of like shook my hand and just walked by after that. But I can tell with extreme music, the artists are a little bit more appreciative. As someone like in a bigger band, like I saw Dark Tranquillity a couple of years ago, and Mikel, which is one of my favorite artists, shook everybody's hand. There's maybe 75 people at the show. It was a Monday night. It was raining.
Right.
And he shook everyone's hand at least twice.
That's awesome.
That was up at the stage and was like, thank you for coming out. You didn't have to be here. And even some of the smaller bands are the same way. Like they'll come out in the crowd and they'll hang out with you and they'll say, hey, appreciate you coming out. Or if you go buy merch, they're the ones running their merch booth. So it's, like, so you go see Metallica, James Hetfield's not going to be running the merch booth.
I think it comes down to the level of the bands too. Obviously, these big artists are not going to be as accessible to the fans because it's a construct of habit and comfort because they're used to just being, what time do I have to be at the venue? They show up, they do a sound check, they go back to their hotel, they come back. They never have that, they'd have to make it a priority in their schedule, and it'd have to be like something that comes from them as an individual, whereas most of the time they're not even like organized that way. So like it's like straight to the stage, straight to the backstage, and you never even see the fans. So they're at like a level that is completely different than an extreme metal show where I have to go shit right before I play in the same bathroom that everyone uses. So I'm going to meet everyone and then wash my hands and and I hope that there's a door on the stall, which a lot of the time there isn't.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then I'm at the merch booth afterwards slinging some shirts. That's what I do, and I've been doing that for years. And that's how you meet people and chat, and you end up traveling around the globe many times, and you go back to cities and it's the same people, and it's a sense of community, and I miss that a lot, not being on the road. My global metal family, people in each city that I'm used to seeing, sharing a brew with, it's something that I'm looking forward to having back.
Yeah. So Matt, I'm just curious, like, what is going on with Cryptopsy? Are you guys working on music? I know it's kind of hard to be together. Are you doing like, I know you've mentioned before that maybe the band is more of a kind of let's get together in the jam room kind of thing as opposed to swapping MP3s, but
no, that's completely wrong. Completely wrong, actually. We write in front of a computer. It's been a debate for many years in the band. It was an argument for many years in the band. Some members rather write in a jam room, as you're explaining, but the man that actually records us enjoys sitting in front of his computer and writing that way. So he trumped us all. So that's what we were doing when Trump pulled the plug on all international flights back in March. We were in a cabin in the woods writing a new Cryptopsy record. We are not doing a new installment for the Book of Suffering for right now. There is no Tome 3 coming out. We signed to a very cool metal label that I can't talk about, and I keep saying that for the past 8 months. It's absolutely frustrating. I'd love to tell everyone. I'm sure that everyone can imagine who it is, but I can't say it because that would be wrong. But it's someone that I've always wanted to be a part of, and we're writing a full length. We are just about finished the writing process. We have written. We started off writing together in the cabin, and then we went home, and the pandemic was intense, so we were doing some Zoom sessions where Chris was in his studio, and we could hear exactly what was happening in his studio. It was very frustrating for him. We did, maybe 10 sessions like that, and wrote a bunch of other material. And then everything sort of got opened up here in Quebec, Montreal region over the summer. So the guys wrote together a bunch more in the studio, and they subsequently just shut us all down again. So we're tinkering back ideas. We're missing about one track to have a full length, but everything that they've written is pure madness. It's like Cryptopsy with a modern twist, not modern in like a trendy twist, just something new once again, because Cryptopsy is an ever-evolving beast depending on where we are all at in our lives, and that's been the story of Cryptopsy forever. But it is very, very Cryptopsy, and Chris struggled for many years to step out of John Levassar's shadow, because he, for a majority of the era, the spectrum, the lifespan of Cryptopsy, it was John writing the material. Like Steve Thibault wrote a lot of the early stuff, and then John came in, and it was his sound that was coming out. A lot of people were contributing stuff. But John Levassar was the madman that was Cryptopsy for many years, and Chris felt pressure, mad pressure, for a long, long time, up until recently. Even through the Book of Suffering, he was feeling pressure. Maybe on Tome 2, he started to feel a bit more comfortable. Mm-hmm. And now I think he's really come into his own and knows what modern Cryptopsy needs to sound like. And it's the material so far is fantastic. I'm really, really looking forward to diving into it. I have a whole concept. I know what the record's going to be called. I came up with it before the pandemic, but thanks to the pandemic, it's even more concretized, is even more solidified, the need for me to talk about this concept, because I wanted to come up with something that I could actually speak about and care about and share information about, because I think the world needs it. And that's something that I think is important as a lyricist and as a frontman to find if you're going to do a conceptual record.
Yeah. So you said that you guys started in the cabin in the woods prior.
Awesome.
Yeah. So prior to that, and then you continued to work through the pandemic. Did the pandemic bleed into that music and start to change maybe a little bit of the direction, change the intensity, change the emotion?
No, because Chris is always very dark and evil. We were teasing that we did like a writing session, and then the world shut down. And then just recently they did another writing session, and then the world shut down again. So we were teasing, but it's just us being silly. But no, it didn't change. No, Chris has a vibe. Chris is extremely meticulous and knows what Cryptopsy needs to be. He is the person that, Flo obviously does as well, but Chris really has a strong hold on what Cryptopsy should sound like and what visual representations should represent Cryptopsy.
Cool. I'm curious, like, for both of you guys, what is your sense for related to the pandemic, when you think actual shows will begin? Because I know that 2021 they're starting to schedule some stuff out. I know I've gotten some tickets for things that got canceled, but I'm not really convinced, and I was curious what you guys' take was on that.
Here you go first, Jerry. I have to take a mat break, and I have a very long-winded question afterwards.
I think maybe like in the outer lying areas where things maybe aren't as bad, some of those like smaller marketplaces may get some of the stuff first before, say, like Dallas or Boston or LA or San Francisco, where, there's a heavy populated area. But I would probably say, being generous, summer next year. Because, I mean, like, we had Devastation on the Nation was rescheduled for March and April, and he's already canceled that completely, saying,
it's too early.
Venues that were on the tour are shut down because, lack of money, no money coming in. How am I going to support 3 bands from Europe if they can even get into the country? How are we going to be able to support them? And so he's already shut that down. I mean, I know there's been some stuff locally that was April, May-ish of next year have already been canceled.
Oh, okay.
I've seen some stuff here in Dallas for like late next year, like September, October is still on the books. So, But yeah, like I was saying, smaller market stuff, maybe before the big markets. Yeah. And luckily here in Dallas, one of Matt's favorite places is an open air Gas Monkey Bar and Grill.
Oh yeah, I've heard of that.
So I think maybe they'll get some shows before, because I know they've done a couple of like local shows. A band that usually opens up for Ingested called I Am Destruction. They did a show in August or September there, but it was tables and tables and chairs only. Yep. Kind of like Garia from Portugal did this past weekend. They did 2 shows, one in Lisbon and one in Porto, I think.
Yep.
And then I know there's one in January with an even smaller local band that's doing like a birthday bash for one of their members, and it's tables only. like no, and
I've been to a couple of drive-in shows, but
I'm not interested in the sitting down chairs thing. I had a friend ask me if I was going to go to the birthday bash one. I was like, I will literally take a chair and throw it into the pond next to Gas Monkey. I was like, there is no way I will be able to sit down for a whole show.
You got to watch out for those turtles, though, Jerry.
See, that place used to be a bar and grill called Firewater, and it was like small local shows only played there. There was like no touring acts, back when I was in college, so like mid 2000s.
Yeah,
it's a great venue.
Yeah. So there are some local shows going on because there's been some here in Michigan. There's some stuff that's opened up. It's like I think 20 people per 1,000 square feet. Like indoors, and still I'm not totally hip on that because I'm just not sure that everybody's going to stay in their little zone of comfort. So, but yeah, there's been some local shows, but we've got nothing as far as national stuff going on. So
yeah, there's been they had like earlier in like May and June, they had some cover bands and they would live stream it. There was like no, like because it's a bar and grill, it was a restaurant, so they could have like 25% capacity. So like people would be there, but they had to be sitting down, and they could people could watch and tip virtually for the cover band, and But I mean, I don't know how well that went, but yeah, there's been just a couple of actual local bands that have actually played in Dallas that I know of.
So Matt, what is your feeling?
For my take, I've moved on to the Steep of Faith from Four Origins Brewing Company from here in Montreal. This is a wit beer that has been brewed with tea and raspberries and strawberries. This version, it switches up all the time.
Sweet.
It is delicious. It's got a little dryness because of the tea and a little fruity because of the fruits. It's delicious. Cheers.
Cheers.
For myself.
Cheers.
I have to say that my opinion on this, and I would love to be wrong, is that we won't see any tours until at least the fall of 2021. That is the only time that I will even be interested in start thinking about booking tours for my band. That's my vote in a group of people. So
yeah.
But I honestly, I'm seeing all these bands book shows and then reschedule them, and I'm wondering if they're doing it just to keep the hype going because they just dropped a record and they want to appear active and want to stay in their fans minds, and I feel bad for all these bands like Cattle Decapitation as an example, who dropped probably the best record of their career last November, and the whole momentum was just pulled out of their sails. And then this whole year there's new releases that are being dropped that people haven't had a chance to see. So what's going to happen with a band like that? Are they going to come out of the pandemic still soaring, or are they going to have to build back up and fight with all these other people? I don't know, but I don't see. Montreal just shut down again. Quebec just shut down again, and we're shutting down they asked us to stay inside and away from people for 28 days, starting from October 1st till October 28th. And I feel like I've heard news today. I'm not sure if it's real news or hearsay news that it's going to continue until Christmas. And it's not over. This pandemic's not over.
No,
a lot of people don't believe in it. And I hear a lot of people that I know don't believe in it and are becoming more questioning it, the validity of it.
Yep.
And I don't know. Until it's safe for everyone to go play a show, I don't see why we should. And I don't see, even those tables, I don't want to play a show where people are sitting at tables. I think it's lame.
Yeah.
That's not what extreme metal is about. Extreme metal is about being sonically assaulted, physically assaulted, and visually assaulted. And that is what extreme metal is about. So save the tables for John Mayer. Cryptopsy will be there when we can play a show properly. And live streams are the same thing. And Behemoth nailed it.
Yeah,
it was
that
really,
was awesome.
really well done.
That was amazing.
But it has to be like a visual spectacle. And how many bands have the budget to pull that off? I don't know.
Right. Yeah.
I don't know. I really, really don't know. Even in my mind, as it's going, 2021 might even be a wash-up, and we might just start moving to 2022. Who knows?
Yeah, I don't know either. but yeah, I'm like you, Matt. I think it's later in 2021 as opposed to earlier. I think anybody that's going sooner than that's just asking to cancel. But you know, I could be wrong. Who knows? But you know, I'm just happy that there's still lots of great new music coming out. So that's what's keeping me motivated, you know, and getting able to talk to people like you guys, you know. So it's all good.
That's great. Everyone's home, so you can talk to a ball check.
Yeah.
Right.
That's what I did when I realized everyone was home, and I was like, "Oh my god, I can do this on the internet." Yeah. And that was, I think when the pandemic hit, I released episode 119, and tomorrow I'm dropping episode 192 and 193.
Yeah.
So
you're like a machine there.
There's something charging the battery. It rhymes with mraff mreer.
So Matt, did you have questions for me or Jerry?
Yeah, I'd love to know what keeps you guys going through all of this. What is something that is positive that came out of the pandemic that you didn't have before it started?
Wow. Jerry, you want to go first?
I know his answer.
It's definitely the Thursday. I mean, me and Matt have met people, like I said, from the Ukraine. I think we've had New Zealand, Australia, UK, Mexico, Spain was the guy from Spain.
I think so. We had a guy from Ireland once. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Cool. We've had people from all over the globe. And it's something that I've set a goal as. I mean, when I was in high school, I took French, and I've started Duolingo, trying to relearn some French, because a goal of mine was always to get to Montreal. I don't know why, but that was a goal in high school. So now I have a group of people, Matt and all the guys in Thursday, that I could hang out with when I go, and could show me things. Where to go, where not to go, where to stay, where not to stay. So that's definitely been the number one thing. It's something my wife early on was like, do this, you need this, because all I was doing was going to work and coming home.
Right.
And I was, my schedule changed. I was working 10-hour shifts versus 8-hour shifts off a couple of days. It was weird. I was, one day I was just sitting at home checking emails for work. So that definitely kept me on an even kilter mentally, since awesome. I really couldn't spend time with anybody outside of family.
Yeah. I think that was the hardest part, is that I remember thinking, I started doing like Zoom meetings with friends, because we really couldn't get together, and we do like a Friday version. That's Thursday, basically, just get fucked up and talk about shit. But, it was really weird because for a while I thought, in a few months we'll be able to like actually physically, be with each other. And there's a closer group of friends who we know are, safe, and they're doing these things. You can be with those people, but wider beyond that, it's, it's a risk. And so for me, what has been keeping me going actually is a lot of the podcasts. I mean, I started listening to Matt like way back when you had Huron from Battlecross.
Yeah.
And but I wasn't really a consistent listener, because I like listened to a little bit as I was driving to work. I don't live that far from work, but it's still a drive. And with the pandemic, I became full-time work from home. I do IT work. And so it was just like, all right, we're all working from home. And it's been this, actually the best thing has been, me and my wife, we get up in the morning, we do like, either lift weights or go like walk 6-7 miles or go run or whatever. But all that time, you've got the podcast going and you're running through all these great things. And to me, that's what's been the savior, really. Is I've picked up like a bunch of stuff from, getting back into the catalog of Matt, your Vox&Hops, and then a bunch of different podcasts, and then music. Jerry, I've been following that the list you have. So those have been the things that have kept me going, and especially this music. I mean, there's lots of great music coming out, and being able to spend some time writing about that. And as I was telling Matt before we kind of started the recording is that I listened to the Jasta interview he did, and he was giving Jamie a sandwich for being his inspiration to start a podcast. And I owe Matt a sandwich and a beer because you were definitely my inspiration. I was like, I've got an idea, and why not? I mean, I'm not Matt from Cryptopsy, but I'm Chuck from Michigan, so what the fuck?
I mean, everyone, Chuck. Everyone knows you. And a podcast is easy. You just have to keep going. Just don't stop. A lot of people start podcasts, but they don't continue them. So the success to a podcast is quality content and consistent content, and that's what I've been striving to do, and just continuing to do, and that is my goal. Last year, my motto was, I had mottos with Jess, my wife, producer of the podcast. It was initially baby steps towards greatness. This year, it's just keep going, don't stop. keep it quality, keep it consistent. That's the motto for 2020.
Awesome.
And it's working. So just and it is a good concept. I like the fans with bands concept, and I like the name. Just keep going, don't stop. And they will come to you. That's really, really what will happen.
Thanks, man. Yeah. So far, it's I've only done a few. I'm trying to build up the content so we can get something rolling, and it's been really fun. I mean, just getting to hang out with folks and just talk about music, which I love, and just get an insight into people's lives. So I was kind of curious, Jerry, being from the Dallas area. How much of a Pantera fan were you?
Huge.
Yeah?
Huge, yeah. My first show was, I was 16. It was Pantera, Slayer, Static X, and Morbid Angel.
Awesome.
Yeah, and the girl I dated at the time, her uncle was a tour bus driver, and I got to meet Static X. Like, I got to meet Wayne and Tony and Ken. I can't remember who. I think Tripp was the other guitarist at the time. It was right after they put out Machine, and Static X was like my favorite band. So that was like a dream come true. But yeah, I've always been a huge Pantera fan, and I will always be.
One of the best pits stage diving adventures I ever had was a Pantera show at this little place called the Ritz. It's gone now in Detroit, but I went to see Wrathchild America, and this band called Pantera was opening up, and it was just fucking crazy. Like, everybody was on the stage running off, jumping and everything. It was so fun.
Yeah, I think that show, when Pantera took the stage, everybody because it was at our big amphitheater, everyone from the lawn just took off for the stage, and it was just mass chaos. So I was like there with my 16-year-old girlfriend and her dad, because it was like a family thing. When the uncle came in town, everybody went and got to see him, and her dad looked at me with this terror, and I'm just like, yeah. People are tearing up chairs, and stuff's flying everywhere. I'm like, okay, yeah, I can do this.
And that's why seated metal shows don't work.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
See,
I'm surprised the Garia stuff went over well. I love that band. I'm glad that everyone kept seated. Imagine being a front man at a social distance show, and everyone's seated.
Yeah.
And then you start, I start Slit Your Guts. And then I have to go, wait, guys. You got to sit back down. Is that really whose responsibility is it to maintain the order of the room?
Oh, right. Yeah.
Is it the band, or is it the venue, or is it the security? And then we have another level of police or policing happening when already everyone is not content with that happening in their lives.
Yeah. Yeah.
No, we should wait. Another reason to wait. I'm sorry to interrupt. Yes.
No, that's good. So, Matt, what would be one of your when you were going to shows and even now, what's a highlight for you as far as a show that you went to that you had a great time? And
early on, my first, I don't know if it's my first or my second, but something that really marked me was I was a new metal child, so I got the Slipknot CD, the self-titled, the first one, and then a week later they were coming to Montreal. It was just like that. And I don't know when the CD came out, but that's when I got it. And so I went, and I didn't have the internet, and so I only had seen the pictures in the booklet. And they were opening. It was Slipknot, Machine Head, and Cold Chamber headlining.
Oh, cool.
So go to the gig, and here they come. They come out on stage, and I was an impressionable youth and sensitive, fragile, right. and I was afraid. So that marked me definitely, and the pit was intense, and I didn't last more than a song, I don't think. But it was a great show. What a good show. And the Slipknot stole it, of course.
Right.
Machine Head was on their new metal kick. Davidian or no, later it was they're really with him with the spiky hair.
Oh, okay.
With Rob the spiky hair, and Cold Chamber was on their second album tour, and so Slipknot just ate everyone alive.
Yeah, that was the only time I've ever been afraid in the pit, is at Slipknot. Seeing them at Ozfest, and they were second stage at that point, and it was just fucking chaos. I mean, if you lost your footing, you were going to get crushed. And so it was like, holy shit, I got to get the hell out of here.
Yeah, and there was a small room in Montreal. It was in the Spectrum, which I subsequently played with Rumal Scream, opening for Soulfly, and that was like a huge moment for me, like in my career, of opening for Max, and B, playing that room where I first had that experience. But another show after, that's why I wasn't sure if it was the first or second, is I went and saw the Family Values tour in Montreal, and that was opening, I think, was Orgy, and then it was Incubus, and then it was Korn.
Right.
Rammstein wasn't there, sadly. It was that year, but I guess they couldn't come into Montreal, into Canada or something. And there too, I went into the pit, and then it was like one of those pits where it's like just leaning, and you're not even standing up anymore. It was terrifying. I was like, I'm done with this. And I went and sat down or stood up and watched the rest of the show. But I knew I wanted to do that.
Yeah. That's awesome.
Yeah, that was me with any Lamb of God show. It's like the whole room is just swaying, and like no one's really standing on both feet. And you got like 20 people fall down, you pick them all up, and another 20 people fall down. Those are that. Yeah, Lamb of God has always been the most intense pits I've ever been in, and like you're participating in the pit no matter what, because it's a GA show. It's everybody's in the pit.
Yeah, I got thrown out of Lamb of God in Detroit for too much stage diving.
It was security.
Too much stage diving, man.
I went up 3 times, and they're like, "You got to get the fuck out of here." And so then I had a leather jacket, and I left it with my buddy because I'm going in the pit, and he had to end up holding onto my coat the whole time. And as I sat outside, and it's fucking cold, and in Detroit, like freezing my ass off, no, sweaty and everything. But Lamb of God, always fun.
Lamb of God kills it. That was a defining moment. I played another big room here in Montreal. There was the Spectrum, and then there was the Metropolis, which they have now called M-Tellus, which none of the real metalheads here use, but that is what it's called now. And Cryptopsy got this call to open for. It was Lamb of God, Behemoth, and then it would have been Cryptopsy opening.
Wow!
And we did that gig, and it was insane. It was while we were doing None So Vile in its entirety. So they offered us 30 minutes. And we're like, well, we're doing None So Vile. It's like 35 minutes. Can we just start 5 minutes earlier and just do our set? And they were like, yeah, that's cool. So
awesome.
That was crazy. I brought my dad, and my dad watched me play Metropolis, which was for me, it's like a pinnacle moment of my career.
Yeah, that's fantastic. So I was curious, what is like, as far as the if you were going to offer like one album to someone and say, this is something that really defines what I love about music, what would that be?
That's a hard question. Yeah.
So I'll go
so many shades.
Yeah.
For me, if someone really wants to know what like really got me into extreme music, definitely Dark Tranquillity's Fiction. That was one of the first albums back in the mid 2000s. Because I mean, I listened to Slipknot and Tool, more of the commercial bands before that. That was one of the more death metal type albums that really just grabbed me. Either that or Genesis by Job for a Cowboy.
Oh yeah, that's a great album.
Something so formative for me that another thing that like the thing that's cool about extreme music, a lot of times what draws us into it is that we're afraid of it. And that was Antichrist Superstar from Marilyn Manson. And I still think that record holds up to today. It's fantastic. The production is amazing, and the vibe of it is amazing. And that's something that I think as 100 years from now, you're gonna listen to that and it's still disturbing. I hope so, because what the hell are these kids going to be listening to if that's not disturbing?
Well, yeah, and what always disturbed me about that was those videos, because you're like,
oh yeah,
Christ, what the hell's going on?
Who is this guy? What is this?
Yeah.
Right.
See, I got introduced to Manson with smells like
Teen
children?
Spirit. Smells like children.
Smells like children. My friend down the street from me had that album, and we listened to that, and I was like, what the hell is this? I was like 10 or 11. I was like, he's a couple of years older than me. I was like, what the hell are you having me listen to, man? Like, this is messed up, man.
Yeah, for me, my first Manson was American Portrait of American Family.
Awesome.
And that still works too. The riffs are catchy as fuck.
Yeah, hell yeah. So guys, we were just about out of time, and so first off, I want to thank you so much for being a part of the show. The last thing I wanted to ask you is like, what are you looking forward to in the next 6 months? And either one of you can go. Whoever has the.
I'll let Matt go first this time.
All right.
Perfect. I have a few milestones coming up. My 2-year anniversary is coming up.
Yeah.
When are you going to be airing this, Chet?
It's probably going to be next month. So.
Next month.
3 weeks. I'll probably.
3 weeks. Because I'll say what it is if it's for real in 3 weeks. Because I'm going to be airing it on the 30th of October.
Oh yeah, no, I don't think this show will be out then.
I'm sure I'll have announced it by then to create some hype. But for my 2-year Vox and Hops anniversary, which is I'm going to be releasing an episode on October 30th. I just recorded it last Saturday. I have all of the Cryptopsy vocalists in one room.
Holy shit!
Lord Worm, Mike DeSalvo, Martin Lacroix, and myself in a Zoom roundtable chat hosted by Bradley Zordragger of Banger TV. He came in and is my guest host, and we went for 2 hours plus. We enjoyed a bunch of beers. We had a bunch of great conversations and topics. I'm really looking forward to getting that out. The editing of it, I'm not looking forward to, but it's going to be a challenge, but it's going to be worth it, and it's going to be amazing. I'm very, very excited about that. I'm also excited, I think about a week later than that, or 2 weeks later than that, I'm going to have my 200th episode. I'm still wrestling who I'm going to have as that guest, but it's going to be someone amazing, and I'm excited about that. So that's what I'm excited about in the next few weeks, that's for sure.
Cool. Awesome. Jerry, how about you, man?
Oh, and the Vox and Hops collab beer from Overhop Canada and Vox and Hops. Sorry, that's also coincides with the 2-year anniversary.
Yeah,
I hit them up, and the Overhop crew were just so cool, and we're yes immediately. So we're doing a double dry hopped New England IPA with Enigma hops, Citra, and I should remember this, but I can't remember. There's a third hop. I think it's Vic's Secret. So I'm very excited to brew it, first of all, and it's going to be available as of November 21st up here in Montreal, and I'm super stoked about that.
Yeah, that's awesome. Jerry, how about you, man?
Just more music, man. I'm just so excited for some more new music and a little bit of stability at work. We've lost a few people who quit, and it'll be by the end of the year to where I'm not running around like crazy, but and not physically exhausted after eight hours of work, but yeah, just new music and some stability.
Cool. Awesome. Well,
I have one more thing too. I'm sorry.
Yeah, go for it, man.
I'm a hustler, so I never stop. There's also a collab happening between Kanawagi Brewing Company and Cryptopsy. There's a new beer coming out.
Is that the crispy that had been talked about?
That's right. Yes, it's the Cryptopsy.
Cryptopsy.
Pilsner Supremacy is coming out. That will be dropping in November as well. The artwork is amazing. It was done by Vox&Hops alumni, Philip, who does artwork for a bunch of bands here and across the globe, such as Augury and a bunch of other bands. He's an amazing artist. He works for a video game. He just kills it. And it's basically like a modern reworking of Whisper Supremacy artwork, which I have aspirations into turning into a new Cryptopsy shirt after the beer collab thing happens. So I'm stoked about it. It's a double dry hop Pilsner. It's going to be a New World Pilsner. It's definitely not going to be a German style classic. So it's a Pilsner Supremacy that falls more into an avant-garde Pilsner. So anyone that's thinking it's going to be the best Pilsner they've ever had, it's definitely a New World Pilsner. So I just want everyone to get that into their minds. But I'm stoked about that. And Drew Stevens from Kanawage that is brewing this for me, I'm very grateful for as well.
That's awesome. I wish I was in Canada right now.
Yeah, same here, man. When he announced this, I was like,
I know.
Damn it.
I know.
Beer trades.
I know.
Yes. Yeah. I mentioned that like beer trading is highly illegal in Texas, and someone was like, I live in Iowa and it's illegal here too. I was like,
it's highly illegal everywhere.
It's highly everywhere.
And do not do it, people.
No.
Yeah.
It's illegal. We cannot do illegal things. All right, brothers. Thank you so much for the conversation. It's awesome.
Yeah. Thank you, man.
Yeah. Cheers, guys.
Thank you. It was a true pleasure.
All right. My beer's empty. See you guys.
Thank you.
Thanks again to Matt and Jerry for joining me in this episode of Fans with Bands. Be sure to check out the technical depth ecstasy of Cryptopsy and head over to Vox&Hops podcast for great conversations about beer and metal. See the show notes for links. Thank you all so much for listening. Be sure to hit subscribe on your favorite podcast service to get each and every episode of Fans with Bands. You can keep in touch by following us on social media. This is a Life in Michigan production. Until next time, be well and kick out the jams.